Hi, welcome to Preeminent Test Prep. Today I'll be taking you through the Math Calculator section of SAT Practice Test 6. I'll be moving through this efficiently and quickly to show you how you can be efficient in your use of time on the SAT Calculator section, and I'll try to complete this in under 35 minutes or even faster to give you an idea of the tricks you can use to move quickly through this section while maintaining accuracy. So let's go ahead and get started with question 1. Which expression is equivalent to 2x squared minus 4 minus negative 3x squared plus 2x minus 7? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and simplify this down. So I have 2x squared, and then I have that minus negative 3x squared. That's going to be the same as plus, right? That's going to be plus 3x squared, so that's going to be 5x squared. I can get rid of c and d then. And then I look at my n term. I have a negative 3 and I have a positive 3, so I just go ahead and find my negative 4 here, and then I have minus negative 7. That minus negative 7 becomes plus 7, so I have negative 4 plus 7, which will give me my n term as positive 3, which means my answer there will be A. All right, question 2. The graph above shows the positions of Paul and Mark during a race. Paul and Mark each ran at a constant rate, and Mark was given a head start to shorten the distance he needed to run. Paul finished the race in 6 seconds, and Mark finished the race in 10 seconds. According to the graph, Mark was given a head start of how many yards? Well, if we look at Mark's graph, we see at time 0, he was at 18. How do I know it's 18? Because I have from 0 to 12 here, right? I have it split halfway, which means I have to be using increments of 6. 12 plus 6 gives me 18, so my answer there is going to be 18. All right, question 3. Snow fell and then stopped for a time. When the snow began to fall again, it fell at a faster rate than it had initially. Assuming that none of the snow melted during the time indicated, which of the following graphs could model the total accumulation of snow versus time? Well, I know that we snow in the beginning and then we level off, so I'm looking for that, and it looks like all 3 graphs have that except D. I can get rid of D. And then I know C is wrong because we start snowing again, which would mean our accumulation would increase. And we're told that it accumulates at a faster rate, right? The snow is falling at a faster rate, so it's going to accumulate faster than in the beginning increase. So our answer is going to be A. Question 4. A website hosting service charges businesses a one-time setup fee of $350 plus D dollars for each month. If a business owner paid $1,010 for the first 12 months, including the setup fee, what is the value of D? Well, the value of D then is going to be that $1,010 minus our $350, right, because that's our initial cost, and then divided by the 12 months, that's going to give us our D, right, the amount that it costs each month. So when we plug that into our calculator, we are going to get 660 divided by 12, which is equal to 55, so I know that my answer is going to be D, 55. All right, question 5, and I'll go ahead and fill that in just so that you can see that there. All right. Question 5, which of the following inequalities is equivalent to the inequality above? All right, so I've got 6x minus 9y is greater than 12. I'm just going to look for one of these inequalities that is a version of this simplified, right? So I see my factor of 3 can fit into all of these. So if I was to divide everything by 3, right, then I'm going to get is greater than 12 over 3, which is 4. I'm going to have minus 3y, and I'm going to have 2x, right? So 2x minus 3y. Find where I have that. I see I have that as B. 2x minus 3y is greater than 4. My answer is going to be B. All right, question 6. Where do people get most of their medical information? The table above shows a summary of 1,200 responses to a survey question. Based on the table, how many of those surveyed get most of their medical information from either a doctor or the internet? Well, that's going to be the sum of these percentages times our 12,000 responses. So 63% plus 13% is going to give me 76%. So I'm going to multiply 0.76 times that 1,200, which is the number of survey respondents. I'm going to get 912, so my answer is C. All right, question 7. The members of a city council wanted to assess the opinions of all city residents about converting an open field into a dog park. The city council surveyed a sample of 500 city residents who own dogs, so that tells me it's going to be a biased sample. The survey showed the majority of those sampled were in favor of the dog park. Which of the following is true about the city council survey? It shows the majority of city residents are in favor of the dog. No, because it was a biased survey. The survey sample should have included more residents who are dog owners. No, it already said they were. The survey sample should have consisted entirely of residents who do not own dogs. That's not true. That would also be a biased sample. So just by process of elimination, I know my answer is D. The survey sample is biased, which I just said because it's not representative of all city residents. Question 8. The table above shows the flavors of ice cream and toppings chosen by people at a party. Each person chose one flavor of ice cream and one topping. Of the people who chose vanilla, so this column here, What fraction shows hot fudge as a topping? Hot fudge right here, it's going to be 8 over 8 plus 5. 8 over 8 plus 5, that's the same as 8 over 13. So my answer is going to be 8 over 13, which is D. Question 9. The total area of a coastal city is 92.1 square miles, of which 11.3 square miles is water. The city had a population of 621,000 people in 2010. Which of the following is closest to population density in people per square mile of land area of the city at that time? Well, my square mile, all right, my amount of land area in square miles is going to be that 92.1 minus that 11.3, which is water. So that's going to give me 80.8 as my land area, so that's going to be my denominator. And my numerator is going to be that 621,000 people. All right, so I plug that in my calculator. That's going to give me my population density, and that will be equal to 7,690. So my answer is going to be B. All right, question 10. Between 1497 and 1500, Amerigo Vespucci embarked on 2 voyages to the New World. According to Vespucci's letters, the first voyage lasted 43 days longer than the second voyage, which I'm going to represent as S. S is going to be the second voyage. And the 2 voyages combined lasted a total of 1,003 days, right? So I've got my second voyage plus 43 days, because that's my first voyage's time length, equals 1,003 days, right? How many days did the second voyage last? So I'm just solving for S here. So S plus S gives me 2S. I'm going to put that dash through it so you know it's an S and not a 5. And then I'm going to have plus 43 equals 1,003. I subtract 43 from each side, right? That's going to give me 960 over here is equal to 2S. I divide each side by 2 to isolate S, and I see that 960 over 2 is 480. So my answer is going to be B. All right, question 11. For the solution xy to the system of equations above, what's the value of x minus y? I see I have 3y and then 3y right there. So if I add these 2 equations together, I'll get 7x plus 6x, which is 13x. And then I have 3y plus negative 3y, so that's 3y minus 3y, which is 0. And then I have 8 plus 5, which is 13. I divide each side by 13, and I get x equals 1. Now I can go ahead and plug in 1 for x, which I'll do in this bottom equation right here, and I'll get 6 minus 3y equals 5. So I subtract 6 from each side, right? I'll subtract 6 here. I'll subtract 6 here. That's gone, right? So now I've got 5 minus 6, which is negative 1. So I've got negative 1 equals negative 3y. Right, I can get rid of the negatives, make it positive. I divide each side by 3. I get y is equal to 1/3. All right, so get rid of that. I got y is 1/3. And I'm asked for the value of x minus y. My x is 1. 1 minus 1/3 is going to give me 2/3 remaining. So my answer there is going to be B for question 11. All right, question 12. Question 12. Question 12 to 14 are going to refer to my data table here and my graph. Over which of the following time periods is the average growth rate of the sunflower the least? Or over which of the following time periods is the average growth rate of the sunflower least? So I'm given a bunch of days. What I can do is I can look here. I've got my height, and I'm looking at growth rate, right? So my growth rate really is going to be my slope, right? The higher the slope, the higher I'm growing, right? The faster my growth rate. The narrower the slope, not the narrower the slope, the lower the slope, right? The lower the slope, the less we're growing. We see our least growth then takes place from 63 to 84 because our slope is flat, which means we're not growing, our height is stagnant. So 63 to 84 will be my answer D. Question 13, the function h defined by h of t equals a times t plus b, where a and b are constants, models the height in centimeters of the sunflower after t days of growth during a time period in which the growth is approximately linear. What does a represent? Well, A is going to represent how much we increase each day, right? Because T is the days, right? Days of growth. So A is going to be how much we increase each day. So the predicted number of centimeters the sunflower grows each day during the period. My answer there is going to be A. All right, moving on. Question 14. The growth rate of the sunflower from day 14 to day 35 is nearly constant. On this interval, which of the following equations best models the height h in centimeters of the sunflower t days after it begins to grow? All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my slope from 14 to 35, right? So day 14, day 35, I've got my slope. I see that my run here is going to be 35 minus 14, which is 21, and I rise up to about 130 from 40. So 130 minus 40 is going to give me 90, so I'm going to plug 90 over 21 in my calculator to solve for my slope. And when I do that, I get 4.28, so right around 4.3. So I go down and I look at my equations. I see I've got 4.5 here, but I'm going to check and make sure by plugging in a number, right? So my h and t. So I'm going to go find a point real quick between these. I see right here I have 100, so 100h should equal 28t, right? When I plug in 28 for t. So I plug in 28, I go 28 times 4.5, I get 126 minus 27. That's about 100, so I know that that's correct. All right, question 15. Which of the following equations relates y to x for the values in the table above? All right, well, if I look, as I increase by 1x, I increase by 14 over 4, right? So I'll put 14 over 4. That's equivalent to 7 over 2, right? So my slope's going to be 7 over 2x. All right, it's going to be my slope, which I'll call m. So I look at my equations, I see I have that right here, and then is it going to be minus 3/4? I see that it is, because when I go back to point 0 right here, right, we'll say that's 0, I got to go back by 14 over 4. I go back 11 minus 14, that gives me negative 3/4. All right, question 16. Triangles ABC and DEF are shown above. Which of the following is the equivalent ratio, or is equal to the ratio BC over AB? All right, AB is my hypotenuse here, right? So I need my hypotenuse over here, which is going to be D to E, right? So I know DE then will be my denominator, and I got BC, which is where I go from my larger angle, which is 58 to 32. I see I have 58 to 32, or I'm sorry, BC is from 58 to my right angle, right? So I misspoke there, right? So we're going to have from angle 58 degrees, which is right here, to F. So we're going to have DF over DE, right? So we have BC going right here, angle 58 to the right angle, and then we have DF is its corresponding one in the other triangle, from D to F, 58 to the right angle, and then we have that over AB, which is our hypotenuse, which will be over DE in our other triangle. So we're going to have DF over DE, which is going to be equation, or answer choice B. All right, moving on, we've got question 17 down here. All right, 17 and 19 refer to the information contained here. So we've got question 17 is down below. Which of the following expresses the riser height in terms of the tread depth? All right. Well, I see I have an equation here, so I'm going to read this. When designing a stairway, an architect can use the riser tread formula, 2h plus d equals 25, where h is the riser height in inches and d is the tread depth in inches for any given stairway. The riser heights are the same and the tread depths are the same for all steps in the stairway. All right, well, I look at this. I can see h is here. I got d there. I got this equation here. Which of the following expresses riser height, which is h, in terms of tread depth? I'm just manipulating to solve for h. So I'm going to subtract d from each side right here, right? So now I got 25 minus d, and then I divide by 2. So I'll have 25 minus d over 2 equals h. That'll be my equation. So I just find what matches that. I can't have a negative because then I'll have that negative 25 over 2, but that has to be positive, and I need that minus d, which this does not have. So my answer there is going to be answer choice B. All right, moving on, question 18. Some building codes require that for indoor stairways, the tread depth must be at least 9 inches and the riser height must be at least 5 inches. According to the riser tread formula, which of the following inequalities represents the set of all possible values for the riser height that meets this code requirement? All right, well, h can't be less than 5, so you can get rid of a. And we know that h has to be, or it can be, at least 5 inches, right? So it wouldn't really make sense to start at 8, but we'll just consider that there for now. All right, so now we look at our equation. We have 2h plus d equals 25, right? We know that d has to be at least 9, so we'll go ahead and put plus 9. We'll subtract 9 from each side, and we'll get 16 equals 2h, which means that the maximum value of h will equal 8 because we divide each side by 2. So we know it has to be greater than 5, but less than 8. So our answer there is going to be C. All right, question 19. An architect wants to use the riser tread formula to design a stairway with a total rise of 9 feet, a riser height between 7 and 8 inches, and an odd number of steps. With an architect's constraints, which of the following must be the tread depth in inches in the stairway? 1 foot equals 12 inches. All right, we need a total rise of 9 feet, so we're going to do 9 times 12 to convert to inches. 9 times 12, I believe, gives me 108, but I'm going to go ahead and check it with my calculator, and it does. So I have 108 inches, right? That's the height I need. Now what I know when I look at this right here, I see that my riser height, h, times my number of stairs, which I'm going to call n, will give me my total rise, right? So hn has to equal 108. I know h has to be between 7 and 8, so what I can say is I can say 108 over 8, right? And then I can put 108 over 7 over here. And I know that those are my heights, so then my n then has to be greater than or not even greater than or equal, right? Because it just says between it, right? So between 7 and 8. So have that. So now what we can do is we can plug those into our calculator to see where n has to fall, and we know it has to be an odd integer. So we'll see if there's only one odd integer in that. So we do 108 over 8 and we get 13.5. Remember, it can't be a half or a decimal. It has to be an integer, right? And then we have 108 over 7. 108 over 7 gives us about 15.4. So the only odd integer between those is 15. So now that I know 15 is n, I can plug that into this equation right here. So I plug in 15 for n. That's the same as 108 over 15 equals h. I do that, and I will get h is equal to 108 over 15, 7.2. All right, now I can go ahead and solve for the rest, right? So now that I know h is 7.2, I can use my equation that we had previously, right? That 25 that we had, that 2h minus d equals 25. I plug in that 7.2, split that off just to be clear. So I got 2 times 7.2 minus d equals 25, right? All right, 2 times 7.2, that's going to give me 14.4. Now I got to subtract that 14.4 from that 25. So I've got 25, or I'm sorry, hang on a minute. It looks like we've got, let me go back up to that equation. I think it was plus d. Yes, 25h plus d. I'm sorry about that. So we got 25h plus d. All right, so we've got 14.4. We subtract 14.4 from 25, so 25 minus 14.4, and we get 10.6 equals d. So we know our answer then will be C. All right, moving on, we got question 20. What is the sum of the solutions to this right here? Well, my solutions I can see are going to be x equals 6, right? I'm looking for my zeros, right? Because these are my factors, I can find their zeros. I'll have x equals 6, and I'll have x equals 0.7, and that'll be negative 0.7. I add those. 6 minus 0.7 is what this says because it's plus and negative. So 6 minus 0.7 leaves me with 5.3. My answer is going to be C. All right, question 21. A study was done on the weights of different types of fish in a pond. A random sample of fish were caught and marked in order to ensure that none were weighed more than once. The sample contained 150 largemouth bass, of which 30% weighed more than 2 pounds. Which of the following conclusions is best supported by the data? The majority of all fish in the pond weigh less than 2 pounds? No, because the 2 pounds is correlated or related to our largemouth bass, not all the fish in the pond. The average weight of all fish in the pond is approximately 2 pounds. No, like I just said, that was just talking about the bass. Approximately 30% of all fish in the pond weigh more than 2 pounds. No, we were just talking about the bass. So we have to have the answer be D, which says approximately 30% of all largemouth bass in the pond weigh more than 2 pounds, right? And that's going to be the answer choice that's best supported by the data. All right, got a data table here talking about electoral votes. In 2008, there were 21 states with 10 or more electoral votes, as shown in the table. Based on the table, what was the median number of electoral votes for 21 states? All right, well, if I've got 21 states, right, my median then is going to be at 11. So I got to find 11. I got 4 here, plus 4, that's 8, 9, 10. My 11th one is going to fall in here, which means my median is going to be that 15. All right, so my answer choice there is going to be B. All right, question 23, I believe, is what we are on. Yep. All right, height versus time for a bouncing ball. All right, so we've got after it was dropped, how many times was the ball at a height of 2 feet? All right, I look at height, I've got it right here. I don't really have to read all of this, to be honest, because if I just look at it after it was dropped, how many times was the ball at 2 feet? I see that we crossed that height 2 feet right there. I see we cross again here and again here. So after it was dropped, the ball was at a height of 2 feet 3 times, right? Right there, there, right there. Okay, question 24. A customer's monthly water bill was 75.74. Due to a rate increase, her monthly bill is now 79.86. To the nearest tenth of a percent, what percent did the amount of the customer's water bill increase? All right, to do this, we're going to use the equation new minus old over old. So our new bill is 79.86. We're going to subtract our old, which is 75.74, all over, and keep in mind this is times 100 to get the percent, right? Just remember that. All right, and this is all going to be over our old bill of 75.74. All right, so I'm going to plug that into my calculator. So I've got 79.86 minus 75.74, all divided by 75.74. And then I multiply by 100 to get my percent. And I see that when I round to the nearest tenth of a percent, I'm going to get 5.4%, because I get 5.44%, right? So 5.4 when I round down. All right, question 25. Some values of the linear function f are shown in the table above. What is the value of f of 3? All right, well, f of 3, don't get it mixed up. That 3 is talking about the x value, right? So we need the value of 3 of x, right? At 3 as x, and then we solve for f of x. So that's going to be the value of f of 3. All right, well, I see from 0 to 2, my run is 2. but I rise by 6, right? Because we go from -2 to 4, that's an increase of 6. So my slope's going to be 6 over 2, which is equal to 3. So 3x will be my slope. All right, so I got y equals 3x. All right, now I got to find my y-intercept, so I can use, so that way I can, actually I don't even have to find my y-intercept, right? Because this is pretty easy. We see I'm just going from 2 to 3, which means my slope is 3, so I go from 4 plus 3, that's going to bring me to 7, right? So my answer choice will be B, and I don't even have to find the y-intercept because they were right next to each other. All right, question 26. A gear ratio RS is the ratio of the number of teeth of two connected gears. The ratio of the number of revolutions per minute of two gear wheels is SR. In the diagram below, gear A is turned by a motor. The turning of gear A causes gears B and C to turn as well. If gear A is rotated at a rate of 100 RPMs, what is the number of revolutions per minute for gear C? All right, well, if I know that I have 20 teeth in gear A and I have 60 teeth in gear B, then what I can say then is that since gear B is 3 times the number of teeth of gear A, then it will have 1/3 the RPMs of gear A, right? Times gear A's RPMs, which I'll just do GA RPMs, right? All right, well, gear A RPMs is 100, so we'll have 100 over 3 as our RPMs for B. And now we look at gear C, right? It has 10 teeth versus gear B's 60 teeth. Well, since it has 10 teeth, it has to have 6 times the RPMs of gear B, right? Since it has 1/6 the amount of teeth, it has to have 6 times RPMs of gear B. So we're going to multiply this right here by 6. We can go ahead and cancel this 3, call it a 1. We can call this 6 a 2, and we get 200 over 1, so our answer is C. All right, now we move on to question 27. In the xy plane, the graph of 2x squared minus 6x plus 2y squared plus 2y equals 45 is a circle. What is the radius of the circle? All right, well, we know a formula for a circle is going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. We see we have 2x squared and 2y squared, so we have to divide this whole equation by 2. When we do that, we will get x squared minus 3x plus y squared plus y is equal to 45 over 2. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do. I see I have x squared minus 3x. Well, to get that, I have to do x minus 1.5 squared. And here's why, because I have that negative 1.5 times an x right there, and then I'll have that other, this is when I FOIL, right? So pretend the squared isn't here, pretend that we have the other equation right here, right? And then I'll take that other negative 1.5, put it there, and I'll get that negative 3x. So that's how I know that I have this x minus 1.5 squared as that part. And then I look at my other part, and I have y, right? I got y squared plus 1y, right? That's a 1 there. It doesn't have to be there. You should just be able to recognize it. So we're going to have that plus y. And since we have that plus 1y, we know we have to have y plus 1/2 squared. So now what I have to do is I have to take this negative 1.5 squared, or take this negative 1.5, and I have to square it. So negative 1.5 squared is 2.25. And then I have to take this half right here, and I have to square that, right? 1/2 times 1/2 gives me 1/4, right, which is 0.25. So their sum is 2.5. I have to take that 2.5 right there, and I have to go add it to my r right here, right, my r squared. So when I add that 2.5 to this r squared, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and put that 45 over 2 in my calculator. I see it's 22.5. I add 2.5 to that, and I get 25. Keep in mind that's not my answer, though. I need the square root of 25 because that is r squared, remember? So we need to square root that to get my radius. So the radius of the circle is root 25, which is 5. So my answer is going to be A. All right, question 28. 2 different points on a number line are both 3 units from the point with coordinate -4. The solution to which of the following equations gives the coordinates of both points? All right, well, the formula for this one, it's going to be absolute value of x minus our coordinate, right? So I'm going to put that as coordinates. So you remember this the next time that you have to take a test like this. It's going to be the absolute value of x minus the coordinate is equal to our difference, right? So our distance from that coordinate on the number line, which is 3. So I do that, I plug in my -4 for my coordinate, I get x minus -4. X minus -4 is x plus 4. So I get absolute value of x plus 4 equals 3. You can check that because you know that the distance 3 units from the point -4 is going to be -1 and -7. Plug in -1 plus 4 gives you 3, and -7 plus 4 will give you -3, which absolute value is 3, which means 3 equals 3. So you can check it like that as well. So A will be your answer there. Question 29. A motor powers a model car so that after starting from rest, the car travels s inches in t seconds, where s equals 16t times the square root of t. Which of the following gives the average speed of the car in inches per second over the first t seconds it starts? All right, well, we know our average speed, right? Our average speed, I'm just going to put that as s, is equal to our distance over time. We know our distance is s equals 16 t times root t, right? We divide that by time because that's our distance. Our t's will cancel, and we know that our average speed then is going to equal 16 root t, which is B. All right, now we got question 30. The scatter plot below shows the amount of electric energy generated in millions of megawatt hours by nuclear sources over a 10-year period. Of the following equations, which best models the data in the scatter plot? Okay, right off the bat, I'm looking at my y-intercepts here. Right, I see that. I know that I have a positive, so I can get rid of A and B. Next up, I'm going to look at my two other terms, right? What I see is that I go up and then I drop back down. So I can't have both of them that are the same sign because we get a change at some point. So when I look at choice C, I see we have a positive times x squared and a positive times x. If that was the equation, it would just keep going up. It would never come down, right? It would just keep going up and keep going up. So I know C can't be my answer, and I know that D has to be my answer then. Okay, now I can move on. I look at question 31. A group of friends decided to divide the $800 cost of a trip equally among themselves. When two of those friends decided not to go on the trip, those remaining still divided the $800 cost equally, but each friend's share of the cost increased by $20. How many friends were in the group originally? Okay, in the group originally, I'm going to represent that as N. So 800 over N is how much that they had to pay before the friends decided to drop out. But we're told after these friends decided to drop out, they had to pay $20 more, right? So what they had to pay originally plus 20 is what they have to pay now when they have two less people. So the original number minus 2. All right, so what I see is my least common denominator is n times n minus 2. So I have to multiply each part by that, right? Each equation by that. So I do that. N minus 2 times n. When I do that, I see that my n minus 2 here is going to cancel, and then I have 800 n. And then I see that I have, and that's going to be all over n minus 2 times n, right? And that's going to equal that 800n. I see that when I multiply that, my n is going to cancel. So I'm going to have 800 times, and all of them are going to have this common denominator, so I'm just going to get rid of it. It's there, but it'll simplify out later. So just to make it easier, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. So when I do this, I'm going to see that my n is going to cancel. I'm going to have 800 times n minus 2, and then I'm going to have that plus 20n times n minus 2. All right, so 800 times n, that's going to give me 800n minus 2 times 800, that's going to be minus 1600. All right, and then I have plus 20n squared, and then I have minus 40n, and that's going to equal that 800n. All right, I'm going to set this equal to 0, and then I'm going to factor out to solve. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of 800 on each side, right? Subtract 800 here, subtract 800 here, all right, that's going to cancel. All right, so now I've got 0 is equal to 20n squared minus 40n minus 1600. I see that a factor in all of those is 20, so I can get rid of 20. So I'll be left with n squared minus 2n plus, then 1600 over 20 is 80 equals 0. And then what we know is this was, yep, minus 1600. Okay, so we've got minus 80, right? Because this was minus 1600, not plus 1600. All right, so now we go ahead and factor this out. So I'm looking for factors of negative 80 that add to negative 2. What jumps off right into my head, right? I see 10 and 8, they have a difference of 2, right? So I'm going to have x minus 10, because we have a negative sign here. So the bigger goes with the negative, times x plus 8 equals 0. So I know my solutions could be x equals 10 or x equals negative 8, but we can't have negative 8 people. We have to have positive people. So our answer will be 10 as our number of original people. All right, what value of x satisfies the equation above? All right, I can go ahead and solve this. So I'm going to go 2 times 5, give me 10x, 2 times negative 20, minus 40, and then I get minus 15, and then I have minus 8x as well, equals 7. 10x minus 8x leaves me with 2x. That negative 40 minus 15 gives me negative 55. I add 55 to each side, and 7 plus 55 will give me 62. I divide each side by 2, and I get x is equal to 31. So my answer is 31. All right, question 33. A laboratory supply company produces graduated cylinders, each with an internal radius of 2 inches and an internal height between 7.75 inches and 8 inches. What's one possible volume rounded to the nearest cubic inch of a graduated cylinder produced by this company? All right, equation for volume of a cylinder like that, it's going to be pi r squared times our height. So our radius is 2. 2 squared is 4, so we're going to have 4 pi times our height. We can pick a height anywhere between these. I'm going to pick 7.8. So I'm going to have times 7.8. All right, and we're told to round to the nearest cubic inch. So I plug that into my calculator real quick. We got 4 times pi times 7.8, and that's going to give me 98.01. I round to the nearest inch. 98 will be my answer. All right, 34. In the xy plane, the graph of y equals 3x squared minus 14x intersects the graph of y equals x at point 0, 0 and AA. What is the value of a? All right, I've got y equals x here. I'm going to plug in my x for y then. So I got x equals 3x squared minus 14x. I subtract x from each side to set it equal to 0. I got 3x squared then. Negative 14x minus another x gives me negative 15x. Now I can go ahead and factor out 3x in that. So now I got 3x, all right, and then I'm going to have 3x times x minus 5, which means that x will equal 5. So my value of a is going to be 5. All right, now I move on to question 35. In the line with the equation 4/5 x plus 1/3 y equals 1 is graphed in the xy plane. What is the x-coordinate of the x-intercept of the line? All right, x-intercept is where y equals 0, so I can plug in a big 0 for that. I have to multiply by the reciprocal to get 1, so I know my x has to equal 5/4. Okay, now I can move on to question 36. Andrew and Maria each collected 6 rocks, and the masses of the rocks are shown in the table above. The mean of the masses of the rocks Maria collected is 0.1 kilograms greater than the mean of the masses of the rocks Andrew collected. What is the value of x? All right, the first thing I got to do is solve for the mean of mass of rocks Andrew collected. All right, so I see I got 2.4 and 3.6. I can go ahead and add those to give me 6. And then I've got a 2.5 and a 2.5. Those will give me 5, so now I'm at 11. 11 plus 3.1 will give me 14.1. 14.1 plus 2 gives me 16.1 plus 0.7 will give me 16.8. That's all going to be over 6. So I got 2.8, so now I got 2.9 will be Maria's mean then, right? 2.9 is going to be her mean because it's 1 kilogram greater, right, than the mean of Andrew's. So now I got to go ahead and set that equal to over 6. I can multiply by 6, just go ahead and get rid of this. 6 times 2.9. 6 times 2.9 is going to give me 17.4, right? And that's going to equal all the sum of all of this plus x. All right, so looking at this, I see I've got 3.3 and 2.7. I'm going to add those to get 6. And then I've got 2.9 and 3.1. I add those to get 6. I'm at 12. 12 plus 2.8 is going to give me 14.8. So now I got 14.8 plus x. I subtract 14.8 from each side, and now I'm going to get x is equal to 2.6. All right, moving on to question 37. Jeremy deposited X dollars in his investment account on January 1, 2021, or 2001. The amount of money in the account doubled each year until Jeremy had $480 in his investment account on January 1, 2005. What is the value of X? All right, well, he's doubling his money, so it's going to be times 2, right? So the amount he put in is X in the beginning, times 2 raised to the power of T years. We know our T years is 2005 minus 2004, 4 years. 2 to the 4th power is 16. We know that this is set equal to $480 that he has at the end, right? So we have 16x equals 480. I divide each side by 16, and I get x equals 30. All right, question 38. School district is forming a committee to discuss plans for the construction of a new high school. Of those invited to join the committee, 15% are parents of students, 45% are teachers, 25% are school and district administrators, and the remaining 6 are students. All right, well, if I add all this up, I got 15% plus 25% is 40%, plus 45%, that's 85%. 100 minus 85% gives me 15% are these students. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 6, I'm going to divide it by 0.15 to get my total amount of people there as 40. And now I'm asked how many more teachers were invited to join the committee than school and district administrators. Well, the percentage who are teachers is 45. I minus those who are school and district administrators, which is 25. 45 minus 25 leaves me with 20%. So I do 0.2 then times my 40, which is the total number of people there, and that is 8. So my answer there is going to be 8. Thank you for watching Preeminent Test Prep. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share as we will be releasing more videos to help you prepare for the SAT.